Hello guys, welcome to the video. Today we are going to look at Candace Owens' best college school debates. I can't wait to watch and make sure that you stay until the end of the video. Let's jump straight into it.
What you guys are living through is such a unique time in this country. I would say it's an awful time to be a college student. Like when I was a university student, I was a liberal. My best friend in the entire world was a conservative. Her family was conservative. I used to go out for dinners with them. Like every weekend, we'd drive out to Massachusetts because I went to school in Rhode Island, and I'd have dinners, and I would debate her dad, who was a conservative, and I'd say all the liberal things, and how could you not think that, immigrants deserve a life, whatever it was, and it was all cool. There was no name calling. There was no you're a this, you're a that. So I just want you guys to be aware of that, knowing that the experience that you guys are having in classrooms has been radically transformed since the time that I went to school. So I graduated high school in 2007, not that long ago. I'm not exactly a dinosaur, but college campuses have completely shifted. The majors that you have were not available. I was shocked going through the catalog and seeing, wow, they're just making stuff up. They're having fun. I feel like they are having fun deciding what programs to allow students to just burn their cash on. I think that's an accurate way to say it. I mean, why else would you go to school and major in something like gender studies? And I'm not saying that to discount the fact that somebody might be interested in the subject. I'm just saying, realistically, have you paused and considered, if you go to university for 4 years and you accrue debt? I'm assuming a lot of people here took out student loans. Like I took out student loans. When I was in school, it was about $35,000 a year out of state. So I'm just thinking, what kind of a person would be encouraged to go to university, to spend that kind of money, to potentially come out of university with 6 figures or close to 6 figures of debt like I had, and not really realize that there's not really a job that you can take with that sort of a major. What is the job? What is the job? You say, I've studied, I got all A's, amazing, I did so great, I studied gender studies. What do you do with that degree when you go out into the real world? Seriously. And I'll ask you guys a question. When, by a show of hands, who has ever been in a situation when they've been like, I really need a gender studies major here to sort this out? No one. No one ever. It's a complete and utter scam. That's what you are. You are actually actively being scammed, and you're not going to realize it until you get out into the real world and you find that actually the only job that's going to be available for somebody that takes up that sort of a major is to go right back into the ecosystem. A professor, right? A professor and teaching the same subject that earned you no money to other students. I actually think that people should be outraged by that. And by the way, people are outraged by that. What ends up happening is a lot of these students go into the real world, they find that they can't take a job, and they can't find a job, they can't earn any money because they're not actually creating a meaningful job. Like, they're not actually doing something that people need, right? And they learn very quickly what the free market suddenly means. Maybe the economics courses that they weren't taking, suddenly they recognize it when they get into the real world, and they go, boom, now I have all this debt, I can't get a job, and I'm angry. And they're not quite sure who they should be angry at, right? And then they look at somebody like somebody that they went to high school with who didn't go to university, and instead that kid who was basically trained to believe that he was going to be a loser, because we all feel that pressure. I definitely felt that pressure. That's why I signed up for so many ridiculous student loans to go to university. Go, go, go. Even if you don't know what you want to do, sign up and just go. You'll figure it out when you get there. You got your guidance counselor telling you that, the entire society is sort of blaring to you that if you don't go to college, then you are a failure. And then there's that one kid that didn't listen to that, and maybe he went to trade school, right? And that kid has, therefore, no debt. He immediately started working. Maybe he fixes, air conditionings. And now he's the person. And let me tell you something. If you live in a place like I live in Tennessee, you will pay any amount of money if your AC goes out in July or August in any of those hot months. Suddenly that guy's making 6 figures, he's got no debt, and then you weigh that against the people who are convinced that they're getting the education that they're supposed to be so much better than this person who have massive amounts of debt. It's a total flip-flop and it's a scam.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's actually a sad reality, but it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. And then, those powers that be, who put these majors, in the curriculums, you then tend to wonder what's the motive behind. Like those gender studies, what's the motive behind? What they're trying to train college students into becoming. Like, what's the aim? What's the reason? For it. You'll be surprised. Oftentimes it's always something that's not good, especially for society. Because most of the times, these things, they lead up to all these feminism things, drawing a bridge, between men and women, driving knowledge into women that man hates you, man is the enemy, all these sorts of crazy things, But the sad reality is a lot of students, they are being subjected to such stuff. And man, it's bad. It's terrible. Well, let's watch the video further.
My question for you is, I wanted to say, my name is Khalif, and I agree with your comments about a lot of the struggles that Black Americans do face in the country is due to the breakdown of the Black family following the passing of the Civil Rights Act, and the promotion of welfare specifically toward Black mothers and incentivizing them to not have their fathers in the home. I would say to you is, as a Black American yourself who has made a platform despite the country and the actions in our past and what's currently going on, what would you say is, one, I would know, how do you feel like you were able to do so? But then also, what would be your recommendation to me, another Black American or any other one, to reverse the effects of the breakdown of the Black family?
That's a good question from this young gentleman there. That's a very good question. Yes, let's hear Candace Owens' answer.
Great question. So I think a couple of things that worked in my favor. I'm my granddaddy's girl, for better or worse. I mean, my granddad was stubborn as the day was long. I am stubborn. Like I just saying to her, I've always been this way. Even when I was a liberal, even when I had the wrong ideas, I just demanded the right to be myself, right? I demanded the right to be myself and not be punished for being myself, right? Least of all, if I wasn't doing anything that was wrong. And that's kind of what's happened. And so the first thing that I would say is, if you want to get ahead as a Black American, stop allowing the media to allow you to see yourself as a Black American. Start seeing yourself as an American, right? Just an American, full stop. The second thing that I would say is that when you start doing that, the relationships that you are able to build, because part of them corroding everybody's mind is to make them perceive other people as the enemy. It destroys relationships, right? And the relationships that you are able to build, which is very much what I did in my life, just by refusing the narrative, it became a superpower. It really became a superpower. I was surrounded with friends that inspired me, people that wanted to work hard and didn't want to have any of the political correctness nonsense in the middle. Like, what can we build? How can we build? The world is at your fingertips. If you are a Black American breathing today, if you're an American breathing today, like I said, you are the most privileged that has ever lived on the face of the planet. That's the truth. And as soon as you remove the barriers that have been put up in your own minds, you'll be able to see it for the first time. Thank you so much.
You see, most of these challenges, most of these problems are really an issue of mindset, you see. They're really an issue of mindset. And to solve these problems, we gotta, solve the mind, like the ideas that is coming into the mind. And I liked what Candace Owens just said there, most of these people, or these quote-unquote evil guys, what they are trying to do is they're trying to divide, to sow division amongst people, among societies, among the women and the men. And in the end, that's where a lot of problems really emanate from. Racism, or all this feminist stuff like that, It comes from the idea of thinking you don't need the others, or the others aren't good enough, from you, or you are not good enough from them. And that's really a cancer to any society, you see. So really, it's like just like what Candace Owens just said there, we really need to filter what we listen to, especially nowadays, social media, mainstream media, all those things. We really need to filter what we listen to. You see, if it's anything that sows hatred, You let it go. You shun your mind away from it. Because you don't need it really. You don't need it. You see, yeah, and that's a very important point there. Let's watch the video further.
If you are living and breathing in America right now, you are a part of a generation that is the most spoiled and privileged that has ever lived in the face of the planet in all of human history. And what happens when you are actually remarkably privileged is that you start looking to complain, right? It's like when life gets really good is when you start complaining about really small things, unimaginable battles that you're having today if you just have a conversation with your grandparents, right? And what they had to face growing up. That's always my litmus test when people ask me, oh my gosh, Candace, how do you deal with all the attacks, the media, and people tweeting at you and saying mean stuff? I'm like, man, imagine if I had to say to my grandfather that the thing that was so tough was I opened the internet and someone said something mean to me. Like it's so ridiculous. We're ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I can just opt out. I don't need to be on Twitter. I don't need to be on Instagram. It's like granddad was living in the segregated South when he grew up, and I'm sad about a tweet. Like it doesn't work for me, right? It just doesn't work. And so the first thing to do is to recognize that all of us are tremendously privileged to even be having these debates, these abnormal debates that I genuinely believe sometimes are being driven out of a boredom. I think it's natural for every generation to want to believe that they have triumphed something, right? Like you're just sort of like, we are the generation that ended segregation. Yay, go 1960s. We are of a generation that protested and put an end to the Vietnam War. Yay, go 1970s. Then you get to now, and we're kind of doing okay, right? We're like, things are looking pretty good. And so people just need to complain about things, and that's when you get into like, well, what if I feel like I was born a fish? And there's no restaurants for fish, and there's no bathrooms for fish. I need a sign that says that fish can go here, right? Or else how else will I feel like I'm welcome into this unique stall? And that's where we're at. So we should stop taking ourselves seriously as like a human race. That's like my general perspective on everything that's going on. And it's interesting also to consider psychology because I was just tweeting about this because it's only until you are removed from the system, which is to say you guys are not yet outside of the system, right? We get kicked out of our parents' house, kindergarten, and then like suddenly you're in high school, you've got your friends, you get in the swing of things, and your guidance counselor's like, no, if you don't go to college, you're a failure, you're going to fail in life, right? You better sign up and take out a bunch of loans and something that you absolutely cannot afford, and you don't even understand these 3,000-page documents, especially if you're like me, and I'm a first-generation college kid. My mother didn't even graduate high school. So you imagine me signing up for loans. I had no idea what I was looking at. And you are willing to go into debt because there's this kind of pressure to just go to college, even though you have no idea what you want to do. You have no idea. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I had to do the thing because the guidance counselors were telling you, like, you'd be a failure if you did it otherwise. And then you sort of get into college, and you don't realize it yet, but you're getting an education, you're learning some things, but you're not getting a true understanding because a lot of these universities very much exist to tell you what to think and not how to think.
Wow, what a point. A lot of these colleges, they exist to tell you what to think and not how to think. Yeah, it's a sad reality, the times now we now live in, You'd think these things are not real or, basically what you were saying there. These are things probably you find in a Hollywood movie somewhere. But no, this is actually reality happening, 24/7 every day. And it's a sad reality. And I liked what Candace Owens said there. What it really shows the importance of educating yourself, Refuse to be ignorant. Yes, especially for the young people. It's always important. You need to refuse to be ignorant because we are now living in a time where there are forces, where there are organization, institutions, and people, who seem to benefit, from such situations, if I can put it that way, Like for instance, mainstream media nowadays, long time ago, media used to be good, in the sense that the way, their core, reasons for existence, one of them being information dissemination, it used to be proper. But nowadays, it's just so contaminated. You see, there are a lot of people with agendas who are trying to push their agendas. Current assassinations is being one of the thing. Council culture, all those things. Just like what Candace Owens say. If you wake up and say you feel like you're a fish, then you try to push that narrative. I mean, it's actually sad. That a lot of our kids, young boys and girls, they are growing up in this kind of an environment. You tend to wonder what type of people at the end are being are produced, especially from academic institutions. It's actually sad, but these evil things, evil deeds, but they're actually happening, It's actually happening, you see. So I think, props to Candace Owens and Charlie Kick, the Turning Point USA, for the amazing work that they do, going into these colleges, speaking with these young men and women, the students there, basically, showing them that there is another way, you can take your life and be in charge of your life. Don't just consume everything that you hear, you see, but rather be someone who is objective. Learn to read for yourself, look through the matters, and make proper decisions for your life, because not everyone in the end has good interest for you. You see, there are a lot of evil people out there, and some of the agendas that they have for humanity is terrible. And it's a sad reality, but it's happening. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think. What do you think about this one? I want to hear your comments in the comment section. And if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. And thank you again for watching the video. I will see you again next time. Bye bye for now.